And we are live. Eric, how's it going?
Great, fantastic to be on the show again,
Hmm.
talking to you as always. It's not the most positive of topics we're going to be talking about, as we're going to talk about the Night of the Seven Kingdoms reshoots. But I'm excited to hear your thoughts on all that, Ricky.
It's it's funny because we always schedule this and talk and think about interesting topics and doing more book content, and then every other day there are so many news coming out about Duncan Egg, and so we figure we will talk about the obvious, the elephant in the room, which is Duncan Egg being rescheduled to 2026, as well as them doing reshoots now. So I'll just let you go ahead, Eric.
All
What are
right,
your
so I'll
thoughts?
I'll, I'll fill in some context before we fully get into our thoughts, just to kind of get a timeline of things going on. So we had the rescheduling of the show, and that seemed to be a very, polarizing thing. We even did a recording with the Dragon Demands about that actual topic, and we talked about in that video more or less the idea that it could be just for the launching of Max, and I was somebody that was a little bit more skeptical, but I still thought that that seemed to be the likely option, even though I just don't trust HBO. They've shattered that since Hot D. So that happened. Okay, time passes, and now about a week ago, we had the whole dropping of. There's been reshoots, I believe, in Belfast for the show, and once again, we're left to predict what's happening. It's the same idea. There's been radio silence about the show from HBO themselves. It's been kind of like the opposite of what we see when House of the Dragon starts kicking up. We have a ton of news about the show. We have a ton of stuff going on about it. Night of the Seven Kingdoms, there's been nothing about it. It's just been radio silence, so we're left to speculate. I think that it getting rescheduled and then us hearing rumblings of reshoots is a bit disheartening, because reshoots is weird, because we talked about this I know we've talked about this in previous live streams. We talked about it, I believe, a bit in the collab we did with Dragon Demands, where
Hmm.
Jordan and Martin had said he'd seen the episodes and he liked them, or we at least had a good rough draft of them already. So what are they going back and changing? And is this because people that have early seen the episodes not didn't have a great reaction to it, or whatnot? I myself think that likely they maybe are going back to tweak some things. I don't know what you could possibly going back to reshoot outside of maybe there is just some minor stuff that just didn't fully come out right. I'm a bit worried though. So Ricky, I'll let that then transition to your
Hmm.
thoughts. I kind of yapped for a while. So what are your thoughts on the news that we've been hearing?
I think the reshoots come in. The news breaking um, about the reshoots coming up right after they've decided to delay the show is not really um it's not really good, but it's speculation, because reshoots are um not always, but oftentimes they are a part of filming. um but most of the times it's just picking up, it's just adding scenes. It's not a good example, but for example, in the Rise of Skywalker, they had reshoots, but the biggest thing they've reshot was Luke being there, the scene he had with Ray. So it could just be a addition. But when was the last time that we've heard the news about something, a big television show or a big film having reshoots and it actually turning out good? The only two examples that I have are Rogue One, which went through extensive and huge reshoots, as well as Mad Max Fury Road. Apart from that, um, you know, this worries me. I would lie if I didn't tell you that I'm worried about what is happening, because it's not a coincidence. I think that they decided to delay the show and then also are doing reshoots. So I think that's connected, whether it be good or bad. Um, this is the one show, and I kept saying that for years. This is the one show that's very near and dear to me, and the one that they have to get right. I don't know what I'm going to do if I see this show
It's gonna be a crash
and
out.
it's not even that. I mean, it's just I'm in a very interesting spot at the minute where, was very hopeful for House of the Dragon. I liked most of season 1. And then it continues strong halfway through it. It turns, in my opinion, to shit. And it's the second time that this happened. A third time will be the last. Because, as I keep saying as well, I won't review House of the Dragon anymore. And this is very crucial and for everything that it has to do with this channel.
I think going even further, it's huge for the future of these type of shows. If this show comes out and it's not up to par of what we think it should be, or even like it's not up to par to what the casual community wants either, it's kind of sending a signal. Okay, now you've had House of the Dragon season 2, which even for casual fans was disappointing. I won't say it performed badly. I don't think that by any
No,
means, but I mean, it was disappointing, like the way the season ended, even with most casual fans from what I've seen. But you follow that up then with A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. If it disappoints, you put a lot of pressure on House of the Dragon season 3, which I do think probably will at least help with the casual audience. I don't know if you're a hardcore fan and you're already kind of burned by season 2. I'm not sure if there's a way to come back from that. But I do want to ask, because this isn't really about House of the Dragon, I want to ask you specifically, Ricky, because you are somebody that you've made short films. You have a lot more of the behind the scenes. I mean, not to the level of something like Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which is being funded millions of
Getting
dollars and stuff.
nervous.
But what do you think they are reshooting? Like, do you think it's more minor stuff, maybe going back and a certain scene that they maybe had taken from the novellas and maybe it just didn't turn out right? Maybe they're just trying to tool it up again, or do you think it's they're actually adding additional scenes
It
or
could
stuff
be.
like that?
It really is that simple. It all depends on how long they'll do this. It could just be them picking up, which, in order for them to cut, there's like an angle that they need, and they don't have it, and they have all the time now because of the delay. So they just went, all right, let's just get the guys back. You know, don't know the character, the actor's name for Dunk. Let's get him back and let's follow him as he wanders through the shot. It could be small like that, but it could also be a complete reshoot of certain sections. Especially, and that is the thing that worries me, um, was this reviewed and they've decided that this is not up to standard, and that's why it was delayed, and that's why it's now getting reshot. That is the thing that worries me. It could be small, but the news coming out about the delay first, and then now it's not. It's reshot or partially reshot. We'll have to wait and see. I'd be really interested to see. Not too much into leaks, but for this one, I would love to read more about it. What are they filming? Where are they filming? And how long are they taking their time with this? Because the longer it'll be, the worse it will be in terms of the quality that they've initially set out. Because or the other thing that worries me is, what if there's not enough dragons and CGI things, so they have to make something up and show it through Daeron's flashbacks or visions. I gotta say, what if it's something like that, where it's where some HBO executive watched this, and they had a viewing and they were like, well, this is great, but this doesn't feel like Game of Thrones. So now you have to add like 3 billion White Walkers and have Valerian the Black Dread for no reason whatsoever in a like a vision scene that then goes on to motivate our characters about the godforsaken fucking long night again, where everything is surrounded. Because the thing about Duncan Egg is that it's not really connected until later on.
Yep.
To the overall bigger picture. And yeah, I could go on, but um, what do you think it is? Do you think they've watched this and they were like, yeah, this is not Game of Thrones. This is not going to connect with the viewers as much as a show like House of the Dragon, where they have like 21 dragons that go at each other.
I mean, I think the thing that worries me the most is that HBO just doesn't seem confident about the show. They've given me no indication that they seem very
Hmm.
confident about it, like they're really wanting to tease it at all. I mean, the trailer, since they pushed it back, it makes sense we don't have a trailer at this point.
Hmm.
But you would think maybe like some teaser posters or some images about it or just something. I mean, there's been nothing. The show does not exist for most casual fans. I talked about this. I feel like the last time we talked about it, but if you're somebody that's just a normal enjoyer of the shows, you don't even know the show exists, and it's going to come out in, what, another half a year more or less. So already the marketing team has not done a great job with the show, which is crazy to me because the marketing for House of the Dragon I thought was fantastic for both season 1 and season 2. So that worries me a lot. And if it is something where they're not even in the making of the show and how it's going to be received, and then you have it where you show it to other people. And I really think it matters who you're showing it to and
Yes.
letting review it and what are their expectations. Like, how are you selling the show? Are you selling this as, oh, this is just another prequel to a Game of Thrones, and that you're leaving it at that? Well, okay, somebody going into this is going to go, oh, this is not the same as House of the Dragon. This is not Game of Thrones. And so I think it really matters the way that you contextualize the show. This show is not the same at all. This is very different. And like, yes, this novella, especially the first one and I'd say the third one, do have some connection to what's going on in the wider world of the Targaryen dynasty and things of that nature, but it's very much not the focus at all. There's
No.
very minor parts of the book. So I look at that mixed with the decision to make this 6 episodes, which I still don't know how they're going to do. It's because I had this whole discussion the last time I talked about this about a week ago with people giving me where they believe the first episode's going to end, just for instance.
Hmm.
And I had people saying, "Oh, it should end here." And then I would literally go into the novella and go, "Well, that's 13 pages into the novella. How are you going to make that a whole episode?" Like, think about it like this: Game of Thrones first episode is multiple chapters.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I'm not as worried about A Night of the Seven Kingdoms as I am season 3 of House of the Dragon, but
Hmm.
there's just worrying signs that I think, yes, they could be panicking and maybe they're adding in more dreams, more, trying to do dragon stuff, or they're trying to make it more of a political show. Maybe they're adding scenes with some of the other Targaryen characters involved at this point, which I actually don't even think would be a bad thing. I think
Hmm.
if done right, like adding more stuff with the other characters like Maekar
Oh
or
yeah.
Baelor, that'd be great. I'd
Targaryen
love to see that.
Stannis.
Yeah, it would be great to see that. So I am worried just based on what you talked about, like the reshoot stuff. If you would have asked me, I couldn't have actually brought up an example that I knew of where I've heard of a show or TV like stuff or movie having reshoots and it's gone well. I always think of
Just
whenever I hear
twice.
reshoots, I think of the Sony like Spider-Verse stuff,
Hmm.
notorious for reshoots.
Hmm.
But go ahead, Ricky.
I also just know the two, Rogue One and Mad Max Fury Road. The other ones that I know of are animated things, like the decision to have Shrek talk with a Scottish accent was very much last minute, and then it added like the overproduction time. But uh, it's not live action, so I have no idea. And it also goes in line with what you just said about if we already have 6 episodes, why would you then go in and add even more when you're taking your sweet time with this first novella? So the argument that I see, and the Dragon Demands is the one who put it out there, of them adding. I have no idea if that's the case in terms of like actual storylines. I could see them adding more shots because, for example, they've shot the tourney and they want to have another angle from like the spectators or whatever, or a follow-up shot of Dunk wandering through something, and they can only show that beautiful shot they have or that beautiful take they have if they have that take. But that's the picking up thing. It's not really a full-on reshoot. So I hope, I really do. I hope that it's not about adding CGI things, because that's not what the story is about. And about you talking about the marketing and stuff, I think if you have Game of Thrones in the title, it'll always do well, and that's what they're banking on pretty much. They'll show a trailer and completely mislead everyone because they're probably pack it with like shots from the attorney at Harrenhal.
Yeah. Or a
And
certain section. I think a
hmm,
certain section, I won't say for spoilers, but there's another conflict part that I really think would work well for
hmm,
marketing.
yeah, yeah. Thing is, all things I've heard, and some of the things are coming from the set are pretty good. Apart from one minor thing that could just be something to make the spectators laugh. Could have just been used for that. That's something that I came up with as headcanon. You know what I'm talking about. But
I do.
apparently,
I do.
like from what I've heard, apparently the tourney looks and really is amazing because it was full on real, apart from like the impact and stuff. But it was like actual guys charging at each other. It wasn't fake. Um, apparently, Finn Bennett is great. But we'll see. We'll see. George R. R. Martin was fine with this one too. It just depends on if it stays the same. If this is what if this is actual what if, and that's the thing that keeps me up at night. What if this was actually really, really, really good, and it's the thing that felt like a Song of Ice and Fire the most, and this is the thing that uh you know they've watched and they were like, yeah, this doesn't feel like Game of Thrones. This doesn't feel like what we've done before, and now they go ahead and change that, even though we would have loved it because George R. R. Martin seemed to have loved it. And
Yep.
sure, he's the author, so what can he say? Well, judging by the last couple of months, he can say quite a few things if he decides to crash out. So
I very much believe if George didn't like what they showed him, he wouldn't have said anything about it.
yeah, he wouldn't have said anything. That was the route that he chose for Game of Thrones back in the day. Whenever they, were airing episodes, he would just comment on the new season being out or congratulating them about Emmy Awards and stuff. And oh, what a fabulous performance by Lena Headey, and congratulations for. But he never really commented on anything, and we'll see.
But that is what worries me, though, is like he's already seen,
Hmm,
like, he's publicly talked about seeing them. It just that's what worries me is he's already seen them. He said good things about them. Now the show after that point, the show got pushed back. We got reshoots going on. Since that time, there's been more fallout with George and um, HBO, so it's Hot D specifically.
hmm.
I don't know. It's an interesting place. While we're at it, I do want to say hi to Cara, Matthew, it's the Summer Island, and
Hey,
everybody
how's
else
it
in the
going?
chat.
How's it going, guys? Sorry, we're 20 minutes in now and we didn't check the
We're
chat
yapping a
yet.
lot.
But it's a topic that's very, very you know they have to get this right, otherwise it's over.
Agreed.
I'm not gonna set up the camera and invest in any of these things anymore. I'll just do book content with you and that's it. um they do have to get that right. So let's turn this around. What do you want out of a Duncan Egg show? Let's try a positive
Okay.
approach. It's only picking up shots and everything's gonna, oh, he disappeared. Cliffhanger. Let's see if we can get him back in here.
I didn't have to do anything. I thought I was gonna have to rejoin.
Oh well, you left us on a cliffhanger there. So
Well, the cliffhanger. I honestly, they can do changes. That's all cool, as long as it keeps to the essence of the novella. As long as it keeps to the themes of that story, and for the most part, keeps it the same message and keeps to the same tone. It's very different when you're saying your expectations for the novellas versus Fire and Blood. Whereas the novella, I very much have a much more stronger want of them to respect it because it is a story. It is a straight up story that we know of. There's no guesswork. It's there. So what I want to see is that part of it. I also would love to see them expand characters like Maekar and Baelor, given we're going to have more time, especially the characters that aren't the main ones in Dunk and Egg. I hope we get more of that. I wouldn't mind seeing more of like Arian, for instance. I think with 6 episodes, you have time to do that. And as long as they do that efficiently, you know, you look at season 1 of Game of Thrones, kind of comparable because you also didn't have dragons in that season either.
Also
so
reshoots. Also big, huge, gigantic reshoots for season 1 of Game of Thrones.
So we came up with one. We can be positive.
we could. I mean, you know, I think this is the case for a lot of Song of Ice and Fire fans out there. Dunk and Egg is, at least to me, it's the best thing George R. R. Martin has written, and so the stakes are high already. If like we're talking about small things, and the fandom will be very vocal and stuff. The thing I really don't like is whenever you have legitimate criticisms or worries for shows like that, you're always you come across like a hater or something, when in reality I'm just very much into it, very invested in the story, and just want it to be good. And the signs are not signing. No news for how many months. We were talking about this for, I don't know, half a year. We're like, where's the trailer? Where's like a just give me a frame. I'd be happy with a frame at this point.
Agreed. I will say, again, we take the positive, spin on it. Is Game of Thrones also didn't start out, with the best news and stuff. I mean, that showed, like we talked about, what drastically changed by the time we saw the finished product of season 1. And for me, it's, of the first 4 seasons, it's up there as I don't know if it's my favorite, but it's definitely in there. That's probably top 2. But
what's the other one?
Yeah. So
Rings of Power.
Oh yeah, of course. Well, I was gonna say, in terms of Game of Thrones season 1, I would say the only one that I kind of go back and forth in is season 3, just because I love the Red Wedding section of the story. But I will say, with my Clash of Kings reread, I look much more harshly at season 2. It made some decisions that I don't think were good decisions, but that's far from the point. They
beware the butterflies, huh?
They did not do our boy Stannis any favors in that season.
No.
But
how's it going at JC? Matthew says, I'm really keen to learn what they do with Dunk as far as the score goes. We know what to expect with the Targaryen theme, but Dunk will be neat to discover musically, which is a pretty big thing. Ramin Djawadi is not going to score this show, by the way. It's the first time that we will have a different composer for a Song of Ice and Fire related show. I'll be very interested to hear what a new guy comes up with. I'm very open to that. As much as I love Ramin Djawadi, and as much, he's literally my most listened to artist on Spotify, because I'm a nerd.
Hey, but I'm a big Howard Shore guy, so
film scores in general, man, just gets me going. But it'll be interesting to see what he comes up with. I personally had this headcanon of, the Brienne theme from season 8, where she gets knighted.
I vaguely remember.
It's literally called The Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. I think that would be like a
that'd be a good
mix of that would be very beautiful. Yeah. It's the theme that always played when Jaime and Brienne were together. Very beautiful theme. I think that would be neat, and also a little nod to them being related, Brienne and Dunk.
This is off topic, but since you bring it up, Ricky, what is your favorite soundtrack from either Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon?
Oh, well, this is as much as I love the season 4 one for Game of Thrones, I think my favorite has got to be season 6. The
Okay.
soundtrack for season 6 is amazing. It has my favorite track of all time too, which is Maester.
Okay. All right. I like it. Season
Mm,
6 does have has a really good soundtrack.
mm.
I mean, it hits all the right like beats that for like
Yeah,
music that you wanted to. It's not overpowering, but it adds so much of it. Yeah. There's some great season 6 tracks. As much as I
lots and lots
am a
of
hater of
strings.
season 6, but
Lots of
really good.
strings with that one too, and you can't ever go wrong with a cello in this
Yeah.
setting. Light of the Seven is my favorite piece of Chubati music. Yeah, it's
It's a good one.
I remember the feeling, and I'll never forget the feeling of think about season 6 what you want, and we've all been disappointed. I've watched it crumble, and I was there when it was, when it aired. The first 10 minutes of that episode of season 6 episode 10, when that piano hits for the first time ever
Oh, it's
in the
so
show, it's
beautiful.
so good. It builds the tension. That is that was brilliant. That was very well done.
I mean, the Tower of Joy
Oh
soundtrack
yeah.
is also fantastic. The way it blends kind of the King of the North soundtrack from season 1,
Mm.
and it kind of blends the Stark theme. Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
Also the Ironborn one for Euron.
Yes.
The very where it plays during the cringe scene of him, saying like, "Where are my niece and nephew? Let's go murder them." It's very cringe scene, but the music is beautiful.
Any of the Stark themes do it for me, and Lament from House of the Dragon season 1.
Oh yeah,
I'm a
very
big
good
my
pick.
favorite one from Hot D is the green dress scene, but it also helps that it's one of my favorite scenes from House of the Dragon. So,
I love the Valarian theme that plays during the
it's a good one.
funeral,
Yeah.
and I could talk 2 hours about the music.
Music's so good. It's one of the best
So
parts of
as
the show.
much as I was shocked that Javadi leaves, I am really curious to find out what's gonna change now. It's not always a bad thing that especially for something like music that it changes up
Yeah.
and something new pops up. Yeah, the green dress theme is fantastic. It is.
But I also, with going to a Night of the Seven Kingdoms, I do kind of like the switch up.
Hmm.
Going to a new musician, we're going to a composer, I should say. Um, because the show is just so different that it kind of should feel a little bit different than
Hmm.
the normal stories. I do, I'm really open to see what they do, and it's not something I'm worried about at all. What House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones has shown is very consistent in terms of casting is usually fantastic, acting is usually fantastic, a lot of the set design is usually great. Music is usually
Production.
great. Production
It's
value just
it's
in total is usually very good. It's very
yeah.
high quality.
Yeah. I'm not worried about that at all. I think the guy they've decided to cast for Dunk looks the part. The actor for Egg, Dexter Enzel, I probably
Don't
totally
look to
butchered
me.
that. Is very happy about being Egg, and is very very vocal about it with his parents and stuff. I don't know if you've seen the video where he's sitting with his parents and they've shared the news with him that he's gonna be Egg in
I
Duncan
have
Egg.
not. I gotta look
Hmm.
at that.
Oh yeah,
That's
it's like the video of John Boyega when he first watches the trailer for The Force Awakens with his dad. Very happy, very wholesome, very cool.
that's got to be an awesome feeling though, because you're getting cast into a role of a lifetime.
Oh yeah.
If we think it's going to be as good as it's going to be, that's a role of a lifetime.
Hmm. And hopefully it
Uh
does well. I mean,
yes.
yes, it's reshooting. Yes, it's delayed. But what if, in the end, it is actually a really, really good show? That's still a possibility. Am I naive? Yes. Am I stupid? Probably. But I'm willing to see this one out. I've heard a lot of good things. George has said a lot of good things. We'll see. In a perfect world, they're only adding more Makar scenes and they are setting up season 2 in a way that's really engaging and really, um, I don't know, really has us excited and stuff. The thing that you also have to keep in mind is that they have to shoot season 2 really, really quickly too. They can't wait too long because the kid is only gonna get older and older, and then he doesn't look the part anymore. So you have to recast, which is not something that they usually do on like big things like this.
Agreed. It's kind of like the Harry Potter movies.
Hmm.
He had to kind of do all those movies very quickly put together. I will say, I'm interested in something though for Ricky, because the first novella, I think of all the seasons, I don't know. First novella and the third novella, I think, will be the easier ones for them to do. But when we get to the second season, where we get into the second novella, that's where I expect them to make more changes.
Hmm.
I don't know if you agree with that. I just think that the way that the second novella is structured for a show, I don't know how they're going to do that with the casual audience, especially because at least in the first novella, the setting is very okay, kind of traditional fantasy story mixed with the George R. R. Martin grounded world,
Hmm.
where it's you have this guy who wants to make something out of himself. He's going to this tournament, and then George R. R. Martin world takes over. So I wonder what do you think specifically, like looking forward, if the show is good in the first season?
The things that they are probably gonna change is let's not beat around the bush. I think they are definitely adding to Daron. I think we are definitely going to see um, White Walker things in some capacity, and we'll be the ones who cry but this is how it works nowadays, right? It's so I'm not in a perfect world. The only stuff that gets added is something that really adds value to Dunk's and especially Egg's relationship to the small folk, because later on he's all about the small folk as a king, and in a perfect world it sets that up. And in a perfect world, we actually get to see the tragedy at Harrenhal, at Summerhall, and the build up to that, and a bit of. I'd be very interested to see Egg's reign. Obviously, then you would have to recast, but I would be all up for it. I don't know. I think we just have to wait and see how they go about season 1 before I can, because I've done
Yeah,
that for House of the Dragon, right? I was like, I want more Corlys. Give me an actual sequence of him as a young guy. Give me like a 10-minute exposure scene of him on his voyages, and we actually like we're somewhere where we've never been before in terms of what we've seen on screen. And that never happened. That was wishful thinking of a hardcore fan. All we got was not much.
you mean more Valarians?
Yeah,
Nonsense. Can never be done.
yeah. Thing is, and they always take their time with certain things that I think are just not necessary.
Agreed.
Take House of the Dragon, for example, that whole meeting up at the Sept thing. Take that out and focus on the Valarians. Focus on Corlys. Focus on uh Nedos.
Hell, build up into the battle of episode 4, or linger more on what happened at the end of episode 2. I mean,
Mm.
that's a very traumatic thing that Rhaenyra sees, and it feels like it doesn't have that much of a lingering effect on her.
Show us the
Or
inside of Old Town. Give us a POV there.
yeah,
Give us like 5 scenes at
you
Old
don't even
Town
gotta
all
you don't even
throughout
gotta show us
season 2.
Theron,
Yeah.
like, and his dragon. You don't gotta like waste budget on dragon. You just like introduce us into it so that when you get to season 3, it's just not like, oh, well, where was this whole faction all of
Mm.
season 2 and season 1? They just kind of popped out of nowhere. It's like the later seasons with Game of Thrones, how the Stark forces always repopulate, you
Yeah.
know?
The same as the Dothraki.
But
I mean, they were all gone during the
yeah,
long
yeah.
night, and they just respawned in King's Landing. Like, what the fuck was that about?
I don't know.
But okay,
Ricky,
but
I have
we're going in circles
yeah,
now.
Ricky, I think this is a great question that James asked, and I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Hmm.
What are your favorite moment in all 3 of the novellas? So this will be obviously spoilers, but
I think uh Are There No True Knights Among You really takes the cake, because it
Good one.
came for me, reading him, he was a brute and he had that in him, but I didn't expect it to come out in front of all these high lordlings. It's very it's so beautiful. It's someone coming up and then yelling at them and then mocking them. He's alone all by himself. They're laughing at him, but he's throwing it right back at them. And I always love that good fight, that spirit of someone who goes against the odds. And it's very typical. It's nothing that would usually be the Song of Ice and Fire thing. And I think that's the casual answer, but I really love that moment where he's standing up for himself. No more bullshit. No more Dunk the Lunk. That's the moment where he became Duncan the Tall.
That's a good answer. It's a good answer. Mine, I feel like, is also a casual answer. I kind of have a bias. I really love the end of the third novella. I like finally meeting Bloodraven.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I love that part. I love the Blackfire reveal of novella 2. Novella 1, obviously, the moment that you mentioned. Even the big reveal that I won't mention because it's a huge, massive spoiler. But the very end, a certain thing happens that's very unexpected. That's a crazy reveal that always caught me because I listened to the novellas before I read it, and I got to hear Harry Lloyd's beautiful performance of the novellas. But yeah, I think those are all some highlight moments for me.
I've never listened to the audiobooks. I gotta do that. I
So
have to
good.
do that, especially the Duncan Egg one, since like you just said, Harry Lloyd is a fantastic actor, has a
So good.
great voice. I think the Roy Dotrice. For a lot of people, he's a legend. For others, they're making he's a meme kind of, in the way that he pronounced the house names and stuff. But I've never actually listened to it. Gotta give this a go sometime.
I listened to them a very long time ago, and I will say I think he does a great performance of those. But Harry Lloyd's is like another level. Like Harry Lloyd gets into it. You can tell the acting side of the character. Like he really tries to give it personality. Like for instance, just one that it's not huge spoilers or anything, but like when Egg is yelling at the tournaments, when he sees Arion. And Harry Lloyd fully goes into it. It just, I don't know. If you guys in the stream, I know Ricky has, and you guys got to give it a good listen. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I should do that too. Ricky, are you allowed to say what you have seen from the filming of Night of the Seven Kingdoms? I haven't seen anything. I can only say that once it comes out, we will probably talk about it in depth when I'm actually, because there's no way that I'm just I should just shut my mouth. I realized this halfway through the sentence. There's a beautiful weather outside and everything is going to be great. How long are you keeping those banners behind you, by the way?
What? Are you talking to me, Ricky? That you were like having a statement or whatever, talking, and then
I'm
I was
having a
like, "Oh,
stroke.
what?
I'm answering something that
What?"
I shouldn't. But it's not a big thing.
So
The
the
thing I've
banners,
heard is that the
back here are
tourney.
great. Ricky didn't say nothing. Ricky, HBO, Rick, don't shut him down.
It's
We're
not
talking
about
about the
me. It's
banner.
about. Uh, it's not like gigantic. It's yeah. How's it going?
It's going great.
It's
I
going.
have so Matthew Stewart put this in here just to shift topics a little bit. Duncan Egg has made me wish that George just lets Fagon win the Game of Thrones because he's obviously alluding to Egg a lot with that character. What are your thoughts on Fagon and in relation?
I don't know. He's just I mean, he's the what? How do you pronounce it? Savas, Savas,
Yes, yes,
Savas.
yes. I don't know the actual pronunciation for it, Ricky. So either one of those
It's a
works.
Savas Meister. He's like Magnus Carlsen. Have you seen the clip
No,
of Magnus Carlsen?
I have no idea what you're
It's
talking
a
about.
huge meme where it's like throwing at the. No, I gotta show you
No,
to later.
I'm not that big into meme culture. Okay, Ricky, you see. But I'm a Fagon guy.
I believe
Aegon
in
Arianne
Fagon.
against the world.
I believe in Fagon too. I think he sits the Iron Throne in the upcoming book. For a while at least.
Yeah,
But
100%.
probably
He will.
towards the end, he probably begins like we
Actually,
probably begin the Dream of Spring, with Danny versus
you're
young
gonna
Griff.
you're gonna hate what I'm about to say, Ricky.
Oh,
Well, here's the thing, Ricky. I think young Griff will just be the king. And you want to know why?
hmm?
We're probably only gonna get Winds of Winter,
Oh,
so
that's
there ain't
true.
gonna be
Yeah,
anybody
he's
that's fighting.
gonna yeah.
So he's just gonna sit the throne.
And George once said, and this was many years ago, that there would, if I remember it correctly, but I think he said that one character will sit the Iron Throne that no one suspects. That was ages and ages ago. Could have been about the original outline. I have no idea, but I think that's the one. It's young Griff.
Yep, as it should be.
Hmm.
What if it's Stannis? What if
Ah,
he lives
it's
all the way
not
through?
making that fucking trip. Don't even.
I know, but I
It's
see
just
people
gonna
cope all the time and
die ice cold and like ice cold like his whole fan base. We're all gonna be uh sitting there feeling nothing as the man probably sacrifices himself, and does a horrible thing that also goes in line with A Song of Ice and Fire in general. So we can have that discussion of, well, he did this horrible thing, but he also tried to save humanity in a way. But that's also headcanon and wishful thinking. I have no idea. In the end, you open you open Winds of Winter, and he just spawns back at Castle Black after losing to the
Yep.
Boltons, and then he just burns Shireen for no reason. Because that would have to happen for him to be able to burn her, right?
Yeah, I've made so many videos on this because I don't understand how it makes sense.
Yeah.
It just like
He's not gonna
the
do
idea
an
is
order. He's not gonna have that be an order through a letter.
but
Oh,
like
by the
think
way,
about
burn my daughter.
Ricky, think about what has to happen. Just if we're saying Stannis directly does it, like he's there, he's the one. Either Stannis has to lose at Winterfell relatively early on, then goes back to the wall, and at this point, he's so desperate that he's willing to kill his daughter, whether because of the others. I don't see any way that he gets like in the show because the characters are just way different. In the show, I think
Yeah.
Stannis being able to burn his daughter was a little bit more acceptable because he just wasn't a character. He was just dull Stannis. But in the book, it's like he's much more compassionate about his daughter. He's much more like he's willing to do a whole plot with Justin Massey about put my daughter on the throne. That's her right. I just don't. So it has to come to the point where it's like, so Stannis wins, and then Shireen maybe comes back to Winterfell or something, or Stannis then takes Winterfell. He goes directly to the wall directly afterwards. Somehow the wall comes down, or the others invade or something, and
And somehow Palpatine returned.
yeah. And Melisandre, and I've even maybe thought the idea of Stannis killing Shireen is a trick by Melisandre. Like maybe he, glamours
Ooh,
Shireen,
yeah.
so it's not actually Shireen. So then he burns his daughter indirectly. But that feels like to me Stannis cope because we love Stannis. We can't
Yeah.
fathom him doing it. So, it's a whole rabbit hole with that.
Yeah, and I don't think we opened the book with that whole thing. Like that's pages and pages. Lots of Asha first, and a lot of Davos. I would be really interested to see what Davos is up to in the next one.
That's a whole nother thing, Ricky. What makes us believe that George is as concise, get to the point for that storyline to whole have? Like the way I just described it, think about how many chapters that is, and think about how George is written.
I always think about, and I always think about Daenerys in that scenario of like,
oh yeah,
okay, we talk
she's
about
the big one.
Endgame, and we reach the Endgame, and how is that ever gonna be possible if Dany is still in Essos for like the whole entirety of Winds?
Agreed. It's just I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a lot to ask. I will say this. This is JC's prediction for Winds of Winter. It will start with a buried Quentin's hand bursting from the ground where he was buried as he rises from the dead and sits on the Iron Throne.
It is known. It is known.
It is known. Hey, we'll be ranking Quentin at some point when we do our POVs.
I
I'll be
really, I
very
really,
interested.
really don't like his chapters. It's the failed hero's journey plot that George just, in my opinion, that's the way I interpret it. Is he wanted to have that failed hero's journey plot, where he really shows that it's not always going to plan, and then that young people are doing very stupid things like approaching a dragon. But there's already so many characters, so many POVs. It's
But Ricky, not to get into a rant about Quentin,
hmm,
it's not even that fact of that. Like, if that was done well, I think I would like it more. But it's just like his first 2 chapters do not matter.
hmm,
They don't matter at all. they you have a character that just is not that interesting, and then his plot line for the first 2 are just
hmm,
like, we already know all this through Daenerys's eyes. Like the stuff that we're seeing with Astapor, we know that in Daenerys's POV. She literally gets told that.
hmm.
So it's just, I don't know. That's the stuff I'm like, we could have seen the Battle of Ice if we just removed Quentin, or like
Could have
have
been
him
there.
show
Could have
up
been
in
there.
one chapter. Because Daenerys, we could have just seen Quentin through Daenerys's eyes, and then Daenerys leaves. Quentin has like 1 or 2 chapters like he has at the end, and then
Hmm.
call it a day. But things we could have seen.
Priyanshu asks, do you think the fan theories not coming true makes wins be received poorly? It's Grease just disappeared on me again. He does this. He does this from time to time, where he just leaves me alone. You guys want to see something? Ta-da! Oh, he's still not there. Eric, if you can hear me, you're not showing up. He should be there, but he's not. Let's see. Let's see what I can do. Let's get the goober back in here, huh? Thing is, Priyanshu, to get back to your question, I think it'll always be received poorly, or at least partially poorly, in a world that is being not being good, or not as good as A Dance with Dragons and stuff. It'll always do good if you criticize something that's very popular, and in that case, fan theories could be, it could serve as a comparison where they're like, well, this was actually better. This the Grandmaster conspiracy, where is that? It didn't come to fruition. And then obviously, because we have waited for so long, we've been theorizing about it, we've been talking about it, this could become a problem where the expectations are not met. But that's always the case with every book, every movie, every music. I will definitely, I can only speak for myself, I will definitely just live in a vacuum and not talk to anyone when Winds drops. I'll just take my whole fucking vacation days. No Twitter. Fuck Twitter.
Definitely no Twitter.
Fuck Twitter. No nothing. I'll talk to nobody and just watch and just read the book. And then when it's done, I'll sort my thoughts and then I come on here and I'll probably yap about it. But oh my god, I think that will be whenever this book, and if this book ever sees the light of day, it's going to be a very turbulent time, man.
I mean, it's one of the most expected books of all time. Yeah, it's just bound to disappoint
Yeah,
some people because of too high of expectations.
yes.
And I do think that's one thing that's great about being in a community, because we talk through so much of how much we've gotten from the other books, and like, some people that maybe have never read the books, or maybe they've read the books but haven't read them in a long time, they might see as like, oh, Song of Ice and Fire is perfect all the way through. There's nothing bad about the series. And it's like,
That's
I will
also
go,
stupid. That's
it's
also
not.
stupid, Everyone is entitled, and that was a funny bit of, I think I've mentioned it to you, when we had that section where we talked about those nerd erotic types. They're all entitled to their fucking opinion, but I'm entitled to say that they're fucking stupid for being a 40-year-old man who talks about comic books and literally cries about casting news on Spider-Man versus Ant Wasp or whatever the fuck these movies are called. That's everyone is entitled to their fucking opinion. I'm not saying that.
It's
But
true.
I'm also entitled to hop on here and talk about it, which is like fine. Just
But
wanted to get
Ricky,
that out there because someone
Ricky,
was leaving a very, very big and emotional message under one of the other streams that we did. Because apparently I'm not a man. I'm not a man who. Because if you don't agree with casting news and stuff, you're woke mob and whatever the fuck. And just shut the fuck up. I'm so done with these people,
Ricky,
man.
don't you know you're an HBO shill, but also
Oh yeah,
hater at the same time?
yeah, yeah. I don't even watch any of these Marvel things, you know. But
Oh, yeah.
it is
I
what
mean,
it is.
Marvel. If people they enjoy it. I've not been on that train in a long time, but
And that's
I
fine. You
that's
know,
fine. If
all
people,
good.
that's yeah. Um, but yeah, I will say about wins. It's an interesting conversation from a content creator perspective because,
Hmm.
like JC talks about, I'm going to read through it. I'm going to speed it and go through as quickly as possible. I don't know how I'm going to be because like I want to enjoy the book, but at the same time, it's like yeah, from a creator's point of view, like yeah, you want to put up content and stuff like that, and it's an interesting. I mean, to be honest, I did read through the last Hunger Games book. I read it in like a weekend,
Hmm.
so I know Winds of Winter is gonna be much bigger than that.
For
But
you to be able to do a video on it, is that why you've skimmed through it, or just did you just enjoy it that much?
I just enjoyed it that much. I didn't do any content on it. I mean, I did
Hmm.
something for school, like I did like a little like 5-minute book review thing. But
Ah, cool.
it's I I just loved the book,
Hmm.
and so if that's how Winds of Winter is, and I just love the book, and I just want to keep reading every chapter, then yeah, I'm going to get through that book pretty quick. But
Hmm.
I definitely don't want to go it from a point of I need to get this book done as soon as possible to have this video up and all that stuff.
Yes.
So because then I think it's going to make me not like the book as much. So that's the interesting conversation about it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I agree with James Ryan. James Ryan just said the Song of Ice and Fire community should make a pact. We all go offline to read the book. No videos of any kind. Hell
Agreed.
yeah, I'd sign that. I'm all up for that. Because I definitely will. I will go offline. You won't hear
Yeah.
anything. I will spawn right in front of my local bookstore, literally 5 hours before for the damn thing just arrives, and I'll look like a crazy person
I really hope there's
for
a
a week or
release
something.
event or something for it. Like if Winds of Winter gets released, and I hope there's like an event or
Mm.
something for it. Like I think it's so cool. Back in the day, there used to be stuff like that, like the Harry Potter books
Mm.
coming out. That's so cool to me. I'd love to like
Mm.
Winds of Winter comes out, go to a bookstore or whatever,
Yeah.
and just have like a live stream outside or something, just chatting with you guys about it. That'd be
Mm.
so cool.
Well, I'm in
But
Germany, which is making this difficult. Which is another
yeah,
thing, right? I'll always obviously read it in the original version, but they'll milk it because in Germany they always split it in two
yep.
halves. So it's not like I can talk to many guys here and really have a discussion because they're probably gonna wait for the ha- the other two books that are going to release.
Yeah. I have a question though, Ricky. So what do you think is the grace period before content should be made after Winds of Winter comes out?
Huh.
Like what would you say is like that period? Like, oh, okay, now this is when you start making videos on it.
I mean, realistically, without you really skimming through it, you would probably take, I don't know, two
It takes me
weeks.
at
If
least
you're
yeah.
someone who reads a lot, I think 2 weeks is fair. But also
I think
real
for
life
me,
happens and stuff. So,
yeah, I think the thing is I think it for me, if I really wanted to, I could read it in a week. But I think to process what you read, and
yeah,
then also you gotta making content. I know there's people that don't understand how long it takes to make content. It takes a long time, especially
mm,
if you're somebody scripting it, and you're not just like for me, I, for the most part, depending on the video, I'll script it somewhat, but for the most part, it's just off the cuff. But
yeah.
you know, it's after the after part of that, cutting out all the stuff you guys don't see or adding source
Oh my
stuff. Yeah.
God, yeah. I
So,
remember
yeah.
starting out, and I obviously am talking in a language that I'm not really using all that much apart from talking to you guys. Uh, um, that made it really difficult in the beginning. You know, I always cringed when I heard me saying certain words and stuff. It was always so you have like a 2 hour recording, and in reality, that's just a 22-minute video or something because you always just you rambled and then you said it wrong, you pronounced it wrong and stuff. There's a whole thing. Yeah, totally agree with that.
Oh, JC, there definitely will be. I mean, it just comes down to people want views and clicks and stuff. So
Yeah,
I
just go to
guarantee
the
you
end of the
we
book.
will. Yeah.
Let's just go to the end of the book and wow, Stannis died.
It's like, wow, thanks. You
Hmm.
know, that's going to be tough as well because theoretically, if Winds of Winter comes out, I might not even make content because I don't even want to be. I don't even want to go on YouTube to upload it just in case of seeing something.
True.
That's be a crazy time. But also, yeah, Ricky, your English is really good.
Oh, thank you. Still,
I
it's
feel like
not.
you're too hard on yourself sometimes. But
It's all right. But you know, it's I think in German, so I have to
yeah,
translate it in my head, and then there's not many chances to talk English here. But thank you.
I mean, Ricky, you know basically two languages, and you're pretty good at. I mean, you're good at, of course, of German, but you're pretty good in English as well. I'm sorry, I can't even process that. I respect people that know different languages a lot.
Hmm.
I think that's a crazy skill to have.
Hmm. Thank you.
Don't go on TikTok, Gunko.
Just don't go on TikTok
Just
in
don't go
general.
on there. It's just not a. It's not it.
No, it's just gonna you know, it's brain rotting you.
Yes.
Your brain will be rotten the more you spend time on this
Do you
godforsaken
think?
app.
Do you think it will surpass Harry Potter total sales? Yes, I 100% think it will.
Ah,
I think it will.
I was
Game of Thrones
around
was the
when the
biggest show
hype
of all time. Like,
was going on about Harry Potter. Like, I don't know. I
I
know.
know Harry Potter was a huge thing,
Oh, it was
but
gigantic. Like,
I feel like A Song of Ice and Fire is bigger in terms of a world context.
I don't think that's going. But I don't know the numbers.
You know what? Let's
Winds of
find
Winter
some
is
numbers.
going. Yeah,
Okay,
let's pull them
you
up.
yap, Ricky. You
Let's pull
yap.
them up,
I'm gonna
Jamie.
pull up some numbers.
Let's pull them up, Jamie.
I'm gonna look up numbers for the last book that came out. Uh,
Das Leben ist kein Ponyhof. Well, that's perfect, JC. Books also aren't as big anymore. Yeah, that's another thing. Winds is going to be gigantic, you know. Might have to split this one up. So in Germany, it's probably going to end up being 4 books. So I have 4 Winds of Winter parts to look forward to, I guess. What do the numbers say, Mr. Number
okay,
Man?
so it's not giving me exact for certain books, but here's what I'll say. Approximate sales for the third through seven books were 65 million.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's all combined or if that's per book.
Hmm.
I'm assuming that's per book, maybe, because
Think
Harry
so too,
Potter
yeah.
and the Philosopher's Stone got 120, which is actually the most, apparently.
Hmm.
That's actually crazy. It's kind of crazy to me that The Hobbit it had 100 million in sales.
Hmm. No, it's
Okay, so
Tolkien.
now let's find out. Let's find out Song of Ice and Fire.
I'm just guessing, but I'd say A Dance with Dragons was around the 38 million mark. It's my guess.
Let me look up A Dance with Dragons specifically.
I'd say
This
it's
is some
around that
interesting
number.
lore we're doing here.
Yeah, it's I love the Duncan Egg reference.
I'm finding it much harder to find information on specifically A Song of Ice and Fire, which is probably not a good indicator.
Dun, dun, dun,
Come on,
dun,
Google
dun,
Chromebook.
dun, dun, dun,
Okay.
dun, 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 dun.
As of 2015, more than 90 million copies in 47 languages have been sold.
Of A Dance with Dragons.
I believe so.
I was way off then.
Hold on.
But makes sense, you know, Game of Thrones was gigantic, was the biggest television show ever. So people probably wanted to, you know, read what happens after like a season 4. Certainly was the case for me. I finished the books right around the time of season 4 coming out. And yeah, the rest is history in terms of, you know, the book not really mattering anymore. JC says, I'm
100%.
guessing 25 million for Dance.
Okay, so Wikipedia had this worded really badly. So I think the total for the book series is 90 million. I think.
Makes sense.
I think. Don't quote me. This is Wikipedia, and they put it this really badly. But I think it can do it. I think it can do it. It's Game of Thrones is expanded. House of the Dragon has expanded it. We're gonna go places. Okay, we're gonna take down Harry Potter.
I think Harry Potter is doing just fine. Taking it down, taking themselves down at the minute.
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair. Harry Potter the show is also having some issues.
Oh God,
controversies.
Let's not even get into that.
Yeah, that's a whole different scenario.
We had an adaptation 14 years ago, and it didn't even age that badly. You know, it's not like, oh, they got it wrong.
I don't understand why they're making a Harry Potter show to begin with.
Yeah, no one. I think they want to set they want to set it up so they can use these characters or these actors for multiple things, so they can then go and do the Marvel and cinematic universe stuff that they've tried to do with Fantastic Beasts and failed. New actors, and then they might even go ahead and do, once they reach the final season, they might do the Cursed Child and whatever. But yeah.
Actually, I take it back. I'm just kind of thinking about the Harry Potter thing. I'm kind of understanding why it has more. Harry Potter is more like you can have kids get that book.
Yeah, it's for kids.
All by some Fire, you can't. Yeah. Well, whoa, Harry Potter's not for kids, Ricky. God,
I mean, I grew up watching Harry Potter. It was a huge event. Like once a year, you went to the movies and you watched that thing, and it was beautiful. Yeah. Very fond memories of going to the theater.
Agreed. Agreed. I can only remember seeing the last 3 in the theaters, but they were fantastic. Book 4 was better than Goblet of Fire movie, though. Yeah, that's a tragedy. That movie was a tragedy compared to the book.
I really enjoyed that first Fantastic Beasts movie. I think it did solid. But the last one, what was it? Secret of Dumbledore. They've managed to make Hogwarts like one of the most iconic places ever look dull and stupid and
the
fake.
Plot of the movie was just bad.
And I actually, and I've watched it with my brother. I thought about leaving the theater mid movie because I couldn't take it anymore. It was just so incredibly stupid. Yeah.
Agreed. But actually, I will say, just addressing chat, the sales for Deathly Hallows was not the most. The most for Harry Potter is the first book, which is surprising to me. But I guess it makes sense.
It makes sense. They're watching the movies and they're buying the first one. Same thing probably is the case for Game of Thrones and A Game of Thrones, you know, because that's the same title. Oh yeah, I guess this is the book. And then they realize there are 4 more, and yeah.
It makes sense. In terms of like it dropping when it dropped, though, Deathly Hallows probably is the highest at the very beginning. Like its total sales in the first like week or so. But
yeah, right. To kind of wrap this whole thing up, we've talked about Dunk and Egg a lot in the beginning, then we switched to other topics. I think that it's not necessarily a good sign that they're reshooting after announcing a delay. I think it is all up to the duration of those reshoots, and I hope we, in this case, I'm not into leaks, but in this case, I hope that we will hear something, and we just so we can get an idea on what they're reshooting, and maybe we can make up our own minds about how and why they're doing it. But it's not a good look, and I hope that we, dear God, I hope this is good, and we'll see. We'll see
Agreed.
how it goes.
We just got to see. I mean, I wish there was a little bit more transparency, but
Mm.
not getting that with HBO.
Well, they're
So
not going out and telling you, well, we're reshooting because we fucked up. Take
yeah,
27 of day 31, and the actor, like they're not gonna do that. But in terms of giving us a glimpse, that would have been beautiful.
yeah.
Just for once. But it is what it
Or
is.
just simply like saying like if they're moving back the show for instance Max, just telling us that instead
Yeah.
of leaving it up to the fans to create their own narratives as to why it got pushed back or
But that's how it
you know.
works nowadays. I bet my
Yeah.
ass off that they will show like big action scenes in the Dunkin' Egg trailer. When
Agreed.
in reality that's not what it's about. Similar to how Last of
House of
Us
Dragon was
Last
the
of Us
same.
season 1 was marketed in a way that really made you think that, oh my god, this is The Walking Dead but with fast zombies, for like people who had no idea about it. They went into this expecting like a horror action show when in reality it's about the human nature and stuff. And I think the same goes for that, but it is what it
Yeah.
is. Thank you
Agreed.
guys so much for joining us today. I hope we'll see you very soon. We didn't have a stream for June, which means that we might, and I haven't talked to this to Eric before, but we might do another stream in July to make up for it. What are you saying? We wanted to
I
do
would love to.
a POV tier list to finally talk about the books. So I hope no
I'm
news
excited.
breaks. I hope we're in for a very quiet month, and then we'll be back, but we'll figure it out.
Yes. So next live show we'll probably be arguing about the POVs.
Oh yeah, hopefully. See you around. Bye bye.